Hey guys, welcome back again to Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy, where the proof is in the singing. I'm excited to do today because a lot of the stuff that we've been doing lately has been a monologue between me to you, and I'm going to enjoy doing some Q&A. So what we've done, before we get started, first of all, I want to do a shout out to my notification squad. You guys are rock stars. And for any of you other guys out there that want to subscribe and keep videos coming your way, please subscribe and don't forget to ring the bell so that we can keep cool videos coming your way. I want to do, let's see who's on with me today. Let's see, we've got Fury Mary from North Dakota. Well, let me grab my glasses, guys. Hold on one second. What did I do with those suckers? They're running. Hold on, stay there. Stay tuned. Hold on. Ah! Elvis has left the building. Elvis is back. All right, so we have Coco Noir. Hey Ken, Coco Noir. We have Nico Ringoff. Can you learn to sing well with no training? Woo. Bob, can you grab that and put that in the questions so I can answer that in a minute? I'm going to answer that in a minute, Nico. Furry Murray. Hey, Ken Tamplin, what is your name and where you're from? Furry Murray's from North Dakota. And Lol Woot. Guys, we got a lot of people. New Zealand, 4 a.m. here. Well, Dallas, thank you, man. If you have a question, Dallas, since you're staying up till 4 a.m., I'm happy to answer it for you, man. I want to remind you guys that we're doing this every Thursday at 9 a.m. and every Saturday at 9 a.m. So please don't forget, because we also have a really special treat coming up this Saturday. We're going to post what the titles of these live streams are going to be. And this Saturday is 12 game-changing tips for great singers. So you're not going to want to miss that one. It's going to be awesome. Jordan, how Bruno Mars can sing so high. Okay, we'll try to get to that. Good morning, Ken. Steve A. Elizabeth Compton. Hey, Ken Dog. Hey, Evie. Elizabeth actually helps me out a lot with Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy. Chris Roberta. EK, hello. Winchester girl. Hey, Winchester. Like as in the Winchester... Are we talking England here? Anyway, Marjorie from Long Island. We've got Chester is better. Olivia from Denmark. We've got Moshin from Pakistan. We've got Yasmin from Brazil. So all over, guys. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So today, I thought it'd be really cool because we did get a lot of different questions and comments. And I didn't really get a chance to answer that many of them. So we went back through the different questions and comments that we had, and I made a list of the last ones, but I'm also going to get to ones that you asked today. But I want to start with ones that I wasn't able to get to before. So hang in there. I promise I'll do my best to get to yours. And so I want to say a couple things. The first thing is if my team, if they want to leave the chat window open, I'm okay with that. I don't need to see myself, so that can still stay blocking me and whatever. And that way, if I see something cool, I can kind of grab it and pull it out. But anyway, so again, early shout outs. I'm doing these by request. So as you guys know, when people have a lot of requests for something, I'm trying to address that in ways that hopefully will make some sense. And then also, if I missed a comment or a question, please don't worry, because we're going to go back through the chat again, and I'm going to do this more than once. I'm going to do it quite a few times. So if you feel like you got something that wasn't answered, I'll do my best to get to that as well, okay? So my very, very first question, and I'm just going to go right into this, guys, is how long should I practice per day? This is April from Ontario, Canada. Well, April, that's a big question. And let me just say, I'm sure a lot of these are going to be, big answers and not just kind of one little, sound bite sort of things. You have to build up like any exercise. And I want you guys really to think about this. Just like any exercise, number one, you need to know you're doing the exercise correctly. That's really important. The second thing is you're going to take baby steps to get stronger and stronger, right? So as you get stronger and stronger, I want you guys to realize that you don't just go to, I'm going to start at 15 minutes and then this week I'm going to jump into an hour. And you want to make sure that you're having, that you're not hurting yourself or you're not having issues or you're not practicing something incorrectly, because if you embed things incorrectly, then it's something you're going to have to fix later or it's going to become very problematic. So, April, in answer to your question, I would recommend if you're brand new at singing, just, keep it back with me so I can see myself, because thank you for, because I'm not going to be able to get through those comments that quick. They're just going by like this. So I'll just, if you guys wouldn't mind, my team, please throw that in the whatever you think I should see in the thing here, that'd be great. So, but anyway, so April, so start out with 15 minutes and go through my exercises. I've got a lot of really great free tutorials on YouTube. You don't need to get the course right this second. Just go into my singing forums, or both. The singing forums are free on my website, KenTamplinVocalAcademy.com. And then just start playing around with your voice and seeing what it can handle. And as you go, because everyone's different, not everyone can all of a sudden go from 15 to 30 to 45 minutes to an hour like that. Someone that's been singing for a while, even if they've been singing incorrectly, has built up a certain muscle structure that can sustain or handle that kind of buildup. So I would love to get you guys up to about an hour a day. That'd be great. If you could do that 5-6 days a week, you'll be humming right along and you'll see some tremendous progress. I personally sing a lot more than that. I usually sing, I'll do my hour warm-ups before I start my day, or sometimes 75 minutes, and then I'll sing sometimes 2, 3, 4, 5 hours a day after that. So I sing a lot. So you're going to want to carefully build your way up to that. The next one is, this is a tough question. Wow. Okay, David from New York says, there are some songs that make me so emotional that I can barely sing them. Yet I so badly want to. How do you deal with songs that make you so emotional that you're shaky or crying? A secondary problem is that it seems like repeated practice can take away the emotional connection to the song that used to be audible. David, you're a naughty boy. That's a question that's like maybe one of the most difficult to answer for myself. All right, I'm going to be vulnerable here for a minute. So I wrote a song about my kids. You guys can look it up. It's called Cherish the Moments. And just look up Ken Tamplin song Cherish the Moments, okay? Now, even in the recording process of this song was so close to me and so personal, I could hardly sing a line without crying. And I'm not a weepy guy. I'm kind of a tough guy, And there are things that make me emotional. I mean, if I see a child get hurt, yeah, it makes me emotional. I want to go kill the sucker that hurt him, or rescue whatever's going on. So there's very few things that make me that kind of emotional. If I feel like someone's perishing in some sense, that makes me very emotional. What I wound up having to do, David, is exactly what you said. I had to find a balance of disconnecting myself enough from the song to where it didn't overtake me in such a way that I crumbled or I buckled. And that's easier said than done, because as I was doing that song and I got to, all the leaves are falling down, life is spinning round and round, summer has gone and autumn has come. You're going to get to the song, you're going to know what I'm talking about. And all of a sudden, even though they were young when I wrote the song and I was able to make it up to that point, I pictured myself in a day when my kids would leave home. And the song is about cherishing the moments of when they are at home and imbuing and empowering them with your love, so that when they're gone, they'll come back to you one day. Well, I envisioned a day where that may not happen. And let's be frank and candid about this. Now, I'm blessed enough right now where my kids, to a certain extent, want to be part of my life, and I'm grateful for that. But I know of a lot of people out there where that's not the case, and it didn't really matter how much love and sacrifice they poured into them. Blah, blah, okay, I'm getting on a personal rant here. Sorry, but this is important because it will help you identify how personal this was for me, okay? Some people like my story, some people are like, can you just talk about singing? But anyway, so when I got to that bridge, I literally couldn't finish the song. It was crazy. And I'd never felt that emotion before, because I'd never had something that touched me so deeply that kept me from being able to sing the song. So it got to the point where I had to completely unplug and disassociate myself from finishing it and focus on anything. I would think about, okay, technically you didn't hit this right. Technically you didn't have the all vowel place. Technically think about the melody could have been better. Were you in pitch? Sing even better in pitch. Try to really focus on it. And I was able to finish by focusing on other things that were more, academic or that were more athletic from a vocal standpoint than the actual emotion of the song. So David, you bring up a phenomenal question and point. Then as you focus on technique or you disassociate, then you find that you lose the passion, the emotion, the sensitivity, and the intimacy of the song. Yeah, you do. And if you notice, when Demi Lovato, for all the people that bagged on her and she got up to sing the song Anyone at the Grammys, Even Demi Lovato got weepy because it was her life story, and it was a clarion call of her feeling like she was praying to God and he wasn't listening, and she just felt displaced. And so for her even to, as professional as she is, and in front of the Grammys, for crying out loud, and nobody wins. So in the same context, if you can step one step beyond your own selfish, emotional whatevers and say, I have this story, and I'm connected to the story. It may be my story, I may be singing about someone else or something else, but I'm connected to it in such a way that if I can't represent this story and tell the story, nobody wins. Nobody gets to hear the story. So if you could go one notch above your own selfish emotions, connect to the song, but represent the song and tell the story in such a way that other people can benefit, that's the way I personally have found. And I know that was a really long-winded answer, David, but it's a really great question. And I wish I could tell you that I had the magic pill or silver bullet that would fix that, but that is how I found my way. Oh, one last thing too. Sorry. When my daughter got married, she had the gall to ask me to sing that song at her wedding. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Oh my gosh. And so I actually said, I don't think I can make it through. I really don't. So she said, well, I want people to hear the song, Daddy. You wrote the song for me and her brother True. What can we do? And I said, well, how about the daddy-daughter dance? We can play the song, and I can be the first guy to give you the dance, and then while the song's playing, we can dance to the song. And even then, I bawled my head off while I'm dancing. I kid you not. I straight up. When my mom died, there was a special song that we had that was a worship song. And in church, every time I hear that song, I just can't stop crying. I mean, you know, there are emotions so deep that I suspect that that's what God put them there for, is to etch it in our hearts in such a way that you just can't disconnect from that, and it just is what it is. So I wanted to add that side note to that. All right, next one is... do you know there is another vocal coach advertising on your channel? Alex from Cleveland, Ohio. Yeah, Alex, I do. I don't want to make a big deal of this. Yes, his name is Aaron. And Aaron has done this for many years, and he's tried to poach, you know, different people from my channel and my videos and all kinds of crazy stuff. If Aaron was that awesome, and I'm not looking to diss anybody, but if Aaron was that awesome, Aaron would have his own channel that he grows organically and wouldn't need to poach off other people's channels and do what he does. Now, I know he claims he's the #1 most popular vocal coach on the internet, blah, 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 blah. You know, but if you look at his subscriber base, he's got like 500,000, and I'm not even sure how many of those were bought, if you know what I mean, from some other third world country. And he claims a certain amount of view count. Well, not to brag at all, but KTVA has a lot more subscribers than he does and a much higher view count, all grown organically. We don't, you know, we do this, but more than all of that, guys, because I heard there's another guy bashing me about SLS right now. Guys, just remember one thing. It's a real simple answer. The proof is in the singing. Really. All you have to do is ask yourself, or ask them, hey, you know, talk is cheap. Bashing is cheap. Ego and making claims is cheap. Prove it with your own voice. Will you sing something for me that shows me that you can really demonstrate what you're saying is legit? So just ask them. Just simply say, hey, I'm interested. So show me with your voice and show me with your students' voices so we can see how well it works. Talk is cheap. Bashing is cheap. Making false claims is cheap, or making claims is cheap. Just prove it. Sing. All we want to hear is sing, prove it. That's it. So that's all I want to say about that. Anyway, I don't have money for your course. Where can I get help at singing from you? Fernando from Argentina. Well, Fernando, I know, man. Argentina is going through a tough time right now. And like we have India and all kinds of different places that, you know, one of the best things you can do, Fernando, if you're asking from me, is I have a lot of really great free singing tutorials on YouTube. If you got to at least start there. I mean, comb through my YouTube channel and see all the stuff I've got and start practicing some of this stuff. And if you can't afford the course, start there and save up until you can. I run some killer sales that, like, we've got a COVID-19 sale we just ended, and I may end up bringing it back because we have a crazy, overwhelming response of people saying, I was saving for it, now I can't, you know. So I'll probably put it back up for a couple, 3 more weeks. It's by far the biggest sale I've ever done. It's like twice the sale of any sale I've ever done, including Christmas and New Year's and you name it. And I'll try to put that back up here in the next day or so to give people an opportunity. I know people are getting checks from the government and stuff, so I will do that for you guys. Just give me a minute to get my bearings here. But and then what was your name again? I'm sorry, Fernando. My singing forums are awesome. We've got 18,000 people in there with some great moderators and just great videos and great resources. Sign up. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. Go in there and start learning, and then start applying what you're learning to singing. That's where I would start. Hopefully that's helpful, Fernando. How long will it take for me to get good at singing? This is Hannah from Sweden. Wow. Hannah, okay. I've answered this before, but let me answer this again. First of all, when you say the word good, what you think of as good and what I think of as good might be two different things, okay? So if you think Billie Eilish is your epitome of good, you might have a really good chance of getting there pretty quickly. Did I say that? Maybe not her emotion and her mystery, but and her pitch is really good live. But yeah, so your definition of good, my definition of good might be two different things. And as you get better at singing, your definition of good will change because you enter different levels of consciousness as you get better, and you're able to better identify what you like in a singer that is great, okay? So this isn't side-skirting your question, but now, so then the next question is, are you a brand new beginner? Have you been singing for a little while? Are you a semi-professional, professional? Professionals would never ask this question. But so I assume you're asking this because you're relatively new at singing. And so, realistically and honestly, there's no such thing as 30 days to great singing. No matter what advertiser puts that on my channel, it's a lie. They're just looking for, and what they're doing is they're gonna get you to sign up. I'm saying this because I want you guys to be realistic about this. They're gonna get you to sign up, and then at the end of the 30 days, they're gonna go, oh, well, you should do another 30 days. And they keep stringing you along, blah, blah, blah. It's the reason that when I sell my course with 70 hours of video tutorials, I mean, it is like the mother lode of information, is you get the whole thing. I don't string you along and every week you got to keep paying. I'm looking for you guys to grow your voice and give you the information so that you can be your own captain of your own ship. I'm teaching you how to fish instead of coming back to me for fish, right? So these people will tell you 30 days to great sing. Now, come on. You could probably sing something halfway decent in about a year. You'll start to see progress in about 6 months, but in about a year, you'll probably sing some easy songs, some songs you like. And then as you progress and the more time you're able to practice, so that's another key element, how much time can you practice? And it's not just practice that makes perfect, it's perfect practice that makes perfect. So how much time can you invest in correct practicing? And like I said, you want to work up hopefully to about an hour a day, 5 to 6 days a week if you can. And then, you'll be able to sort of see exponential progress in this. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay, next question is, what is the difference in all the other vocal coaches on YouTube? This is Alfonso from Mexico City. Well, I kind of answered that in the last question, I think. So I don't want to beat that up. Again, guys, the proof is in the singing. Just ask them to sing. If they're great and you like the way they sing and they show a bunch of students singing, cool. Then maybe they have information that can help you. And by the way, it's not that all coaches are bad or all coaches are good or they're all the same. You might resonate with the way another coach communicates and more than me. And even though they may not have information, I'm going to be as arrogant to say as good as mine. They may be able to tell you or relate something to you that you understand better. Or there might be something about their coaching you like better. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I want you to go where you guys can get the best information. So, go with who you feel like you connect with, and then if you're seeing progress. Now, the thing to watch out for, and I've said this before, it's worth saying again, is let's talk about a personal trainer, okay? Let's say I'm a personal trainer, so I'm a vocal coach, but I'm going to change the title to personal physical trainer. Now, as a physical trainer, let's say you're overweight. And you want to lose 20 pounds or 30 pounds, right? And you come to me and you say, Ken, I heard you're a personal trainer. I want to lose 30 pounds. And I said, great. I got just the thing for you. I want you to run up and down that street one time. And you run up and down the street. It's kind of tough because you're not used to exercising, but you do it, blah, blah, blah. Day 2, run up and down a couple times. Day 3, day 5, day 10, 3 weeks, a month goes by. And finally I've got you running up and down that street 10 times every single day. you're losing a little weight, you're feeling good about yourself. You go, man, that Ken Tamplin guy, he's something, isn't he? Well, that's kind of what happens when people get you to do scales. You start to see a little progress. You think the guy's got good information, blah, blah, blah. It's starting to help. You do see some progress. But then there's a quick ceiling, and immediately you stop growing. Once that information that this person is giving you stops, they can't take you any farther, you realize how deep they don't run with information. And you realize that maybe even some of the things that they showed you how to do, if you don't go to learn how to lift weights correctly, that it becomes problematic and you have to go back and relearn some things. So on the one hand, any information that helps you is great if it gets you motivated to doing something. Not all information is created equal by far. Not all doctors are created equal. And you're going to want to get to a point where you can identify if you're really truly growing, not just running up and down the street because some guy gives you some scales, but that you're actually really getting information to help exponential growth. Next question. What is that thing you do with your tongue? It's weird. You look like a lizard. This is Pierre from Menton, France. Ha, Menton. That's funny. Little secret humor. I actually played in Menton with a band I was in many years ago. Right there on the ocean. It's between the border of Italy, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, Pierre, and Monte Carlo. It's like a little town in there. It's a really pretty town. It's kind of like Laguna, California. Laguna Beach. Anyway, so there are different stages on how you control different things in the mouth. This, by the way, this is called the mandible or the jaw. You have your tongue, the throat in the back I refer to, it's called the vocal tract, or just the shaping of your throat in the tongue. You have your nose, or the velo or velo-nasal port that goes up into the sinus cavities. There's all kinds of different facial structures, resonators and things that all work together, okay? The tongue is one of the most important components of this. So as we first start singing and we're looking, and I remember you guys, me telling you it's the la, ah, right? I go through this all the time. We talk about this. You see my videos on this. So when you first have the ah vowel, it's the la, ah, you want to get a mirror out and you want to look at your tongue. And you want to see not just the front of your tongue, but look all the way into the back of your throat, like the doctor wants to see your tonsils. And you want to do your best, even if you have to get a tongue suppressor, one of those things from the doctor, you know, to see your tonsils. Take the tongue suppressor and push down on the back of your throat. It's going to make you want to choke and cough a little bit, I understand. So don't go all the way back, but just enough. And then try to relax the tongue in a way that you can create the maximum amount of space in the back of the throat. More space means range, okay? And the more beautiful the vowels, and the easier it is to shift from vowel to vowel with what is called vocal tract shaping and vowel modifications. I cover all this in my singing course extensively. As you train the tongue to stay down, the tongue will stay down within the vowel structures themselves, but it wants to buckle into the back of the throat and regurgitate or get caught, and you kind of start to gag or choke on the tongue, especially in something called glottal stops. Gla, ga, ba, pa. Anything that shifts the breath instead of contiguous airflow coming out of the mouth, it's shifting in the back of the throat saying, do you want air to come out of the nose? Or do you want air to come out of the mouth? And there's this buckling or shifting that happens in the back of the throat, the tongue and the throat itself. This is true going through the passaggio. La, la, right? You want to train the throat to stay open. And one of the key factors of training the throat to stay open is keeping the tongue flat to the base of the mandible. So that's stage one. Stage two is when you get really good at this, you'll notice that you can concave the tongue to the base of the jaw, the mandible, and you can control the shape of the vowels, a lot of the shape of the vowels, with the tongue and how it works in concert with the back of the throat. When you get really, really good at it, you can actually have the tongue pull away from the back of the throat, lizard tongue, and remove any stricture or constriction in the back of the throat to have maximum freedom in the throat to sing with a lot more distortion, a lot more power, a lot more authority, a lot more shifting of the vowels themselves, or least amount of shifting depending on which way you want to go with it. Now, I posted this on Ken Tamplin's tongue. Look on my video on YouTube. We'll put it in the description for you, Pierre. Within this, what happens is, and I want to be very clear about this, you can watch a couple of videos on this video that I have called Ken Tamplin's Tongue, and you'll see Adam Lambert doing the exact same thing. We have a very similar technique in some ways in the way we shift vowels. Very different from a distortion standpoint, very different from a vowel placement standpoint when his upper register, and also very different in how much support he uses. But he does use this tongue technique. Whitney Houston also uses this technique. So I'll put both of those videos that you guys can check and see that it's not just Ken Tamplin being weird and, you know, what are you doing with that tongue? Anyway, okay. When will you teach us to sing with distortion? Klaus from Mannheim, Germany. Well, Klaus, I do have quite a few videos on YouTube about the process of this, but because it's such a sensitive nature of how dangerous it is to sing with distortion and not do it correctly, I can't help you on getting from point A. Anyone that posts irresponsibly how to get distortion on YouTube is akin to a doctor that is giving you malpractice. What I mean by that is it's such a dangerous, what I'm going to call an extreme sport, that if you do this incorrectly, you probably will lose your voice altogether, or certainly lose a majority of your range and even some of your speaking ability. So this is something you must do my course to do. And I'm sorry, I'll do my best to give some quick tutorials here and there, but it's hours and hours of specific kinds of training, specific kinds of glottal compression, compressing the air and so forth. So that is not a question I can just go, bing, here's your answer. I'll do my best to try to give other ways to get there so you guys can start to experiment with it so you don't hurt yourself, but you can get your feet wet a little bit, maybe more than what I have in the tutorials I currently have out. What advice do you have for a beginner just getting started? Carolina from Brooklyn. Well, Carolina, okay, so I have, several tutorials on what it takes to be a beginner, but as I forget who was it that asked, I forget, how long does it take to get good at singing, whoever it was that asked that. You just start simply, try just singing a few things and getting your phone out, recording it, seeing if you're in pitch and if you know how your voice is sounding. Just start simply, don't even get into anything technical for a minute. Just start singing a couple real easy songs and just try to hear some pitch and kind of get your gig together a little bit and see, get familiar with your own body and with all the different motor, the different physical attributes in your voice and throat and motor skills and things that happen in order to be able, and then move on to starting to train, your vowels and so forth, and you'll start to grow. But I have some really good video tutorials on this, so watch my video tutorials. I'll put that in the description also, you guys. So as we're going through this, you can refer back to this when I say that. But I would start there. That'd be a great place to start. Let's see here. Where am I at? Sorry, guys. I think these guys are done here. Let's move on here. I know, and I'm gonna get to you guys too soon. So hang in there, guys. We've got a lot of questions, and I didn't want to feel like anyone got left out. So bear with me. Asmund, I know you've said that you should start with a clean voice and lean into distortion, but when you want to sing rock, but when do you know when you are doing something wrong? Well, that's a good question. Thank you, Asmund. A few things. The first thing is, in my course, I discuss, if you're training a lot, people say, coaches will say, you should never ever feel any tension or soreness in the throat ever. Guys, please think about this, okay? Singing is a sport. And like any sport, or like working out at the gym, your voice is a group of muscles. And within that group of muscles, even when you train correctly, if you do a lot of training, you'll feel it. You'll feel it. You're stretching muscles. You want muscles to grow. That's the point of it. So you'll feel some sensations of maybe even being a little tired, a little sore, all right? A little tired, a little sore. But like really sore or like hoarse. So a little sore can be okay, a little bit. And I don't mean a lot, I mean a little bit. Hoarse, never. If you find yourself going hoarse, you're doing something wrong, particularly singing with distortion. You've got to come back and do this in baby steps and build this. Just like whoever it was that asked from Argentina, or whoever it was that asked about distortion. You've got to do this carefully with good quality, legit information to do this correctly. Let's see here. Next question is, Tylen or Thielen, T-I-L-E-N, Tylen. Can you explain those screams that Bon Jovi used to do? Do you know why Bon Jovi used to do them? Because it's not good for your voice, just like the reason David Lee Roth used to do his screams. No, I can explain it. Yes, it's a splitting. It's when you've oversung so much and your voice is going hoarse and you're starting to get something called dysphonia, which means the chords are losing separation, or they're getting separation, they're losing connection. They're becoming swollen in the center of the folds themselves. So because of that swelling of the folds themselves, they can't get good chord closure, right? And that inflammation is the beginning of a polyp or a node that's starting to happen in the folds themselves. So as it does that, it has a kind of sound where it splits in harmonically, splits the notes into a couple things where it's vibrating frantically, trying to get this note to close, trying to get this chord closure, and it's splitting off harmonically the sound of the voice, particularly in the falsetto head voice register, and it's the beginning of the end of your voice. Now, I'm not saying you can't do it. Flageolet whistle register is kind of an extension of that to some degree. You just need to know how to do that correctly. Maybe I'll try to do a thing on a flageolet whistle register. That's another really taboo subject. It's one of the reasons it cost Mariah some of her voice, and other people that have tried it, is you got to be extremely careful with that. TP. Hey, TP, I bet you're a pretty coveted person right now. Just kidding. Anyway, TP, I've used your singing tips for a while, and I've been noticing improvement. But I've been struggling to get that pingy, bright voice, even when I'm tenor. Please show us how to get that sound. Well, I've done this a lot. Like I said, guys, ah, la, ah. Drop the tongue. Look at the back of the throat. Try to get the uvula and the soft palate to rise. Ah, I'm not going, ah, right? So we want to control or manage the air or the breath, the amount of air going across the chords to where the ping is bright. So almost like fry. And you want to start there and work up one vowel till you build muscle memory in the throat, and then you go through the different vowels like I cover in my course, and then vowel modifications, make sure support is good, all the different things we've discussed many times. Hopefully, TP, that was helpful. Sora or Sadi. Hi, I'm from Granada, Spain. I love your techniques. I'm contralto tenorino. I'd love to see some techniques for alto tenorino, how to manage our low notes as women singing like tenors. Okay, well, first of all, Sora, when someone says they're a contralto, I'm really suspect of that, because a lot of times, oh man, I'll get the short version of this one. There are a lot of definitions that get thrown around all over the place, and someone says, I'm a contralto, okay? Now, I'm not dissing you, but just stay with me for a second, okay? A contralto is one of the most unique voices in all the different 25 vocal folks. And let me explain. Most people think of, when they think of a contralto, they think of with alto, con, the word with, and alto. That's kind of the perception of definition of the term. So most people, when they say it, they think, okay, I'm like a tenor, but I've got 3 more notes than a tenor. And like Kelly Clarkson is a contralto, Mariah Carey's a contralto, Celine Dion's a contralto, blah, 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 blah. You know, you see these people, making these comments. A contralto, a true contralto, can sing with alto within the tenor range plus 3 notes, but also can sing in the soprano range and can shift back and forth. That is the true definition of contralto, and they are extremely rare. So it's to say you're a contralto. So let's just say you're an alto, and that you might have a couple 3 notes, and you want to know how to sing down in the tenor range. Well, you kind of should already be doing that. You just are 3 notes above it. So I'll tell you what, do me a favor, Sora, send us a message, a private message somehow, either on Facebook or something, and I can give you some literature to explain this a little more, because it's a very complicated subject. I could just tell you, you can work scales down into the lower register that go all the way down to a G3, which is usually what is typically done to stretch the voice down there. And then you have to understand how not to over bloat the voice or put too much pressure into the throat as you're going down in the register, as to pop or collapse the folds themselves, so that you can grow muscle strength and memory down lower to get those belting note registers down low. But that is a process of this, and I'll try to get you some lit on that. But that's a huge subject. Anyway, Mars Studio 7 says, I've been trying to do head voice, but I cannot get it. How do I manage to find it? All right, so again, this is another one of those definition things. And guys, man, I know I'm going long on some of these explanations, but I don't have a choice. So a really quick, let's call it a time capsule or timeline, let's say, of how I use the term head voice. In bel canto, appoggio, in operatic style, in classical singing, the term head voice simply means anything that resonates in the head, okay? That is the traditional definition of that term. I've personally, in all my years of studying bel canto, felt that definition was not very easy to understand for a lot of people that are trying to differentiate between falsetto, head voice, reinforced falsetto, and all these different terms that are thrown around. In the early Broadway years, not early, but early mid-Broadway years, like around 1969, 1970, 71, 72, there was a term, a definition that was called the Broadway belt. It's where we get our term belting. Broadway belt. Where do you come out? They come out and they sing a big note, right? In chest voice. In what's called the call register. Now, guys' and girls' voices are different. Guys' voices can be, or in some cases even larger than 2 times the size of a female voice. Now, some guys' voices can be shorter in registration. A lot of these guys like Millie Matichevich or Steve Perry or Brad Delp from Boston or Mickey Thomas or whomever, it was real high Jeff Tate, all these different guys with high voices. Chances are their chords are smaller, and so that's just a registration they can sing in comfortably, and it's not that they're able to stretch chest like someone like me, like a baritone, okay? There's a reason I'm bringing all this up. So within what I've termed the term head voice is that explanation of just something that resonates in your head didn't work for me. It didn't work for me growing up, didn't work for me understanding how to explain it, didn't work for me understanding how to utilize it. So I gravitated towards the theater version of the female registration of the term head voice. Let me explain why. Because it was very simple to understand that when a woman went from her chest register into her head voice, passing segundo passaggio, the second passageway. Let's remember, folks, there's 2 passageways. Prima passaggio is the registration I'm speaking at to you right now. When I'm going into my call register or the belting register, the minute you shift into that belting register, you can feel a shift in your voice. It's kind of like shifting a gear, right? And so prima passaggio is like stepping in the clutch and going into second gear into the call or belting register. Then from that register, we have a choice as guys to go into falsetto. Okay, falsetto, let's call it what it is, a traditional term. Women, on the other hand, when they go in from their call register into their head voice, because their chords are smaller, it has a very similar tone to their belting chest voice, but with a lot more air. You can tell that they're airier on most of the time. They're airier on the sound. So you can almost never really tell, or seldom tell. Contraltos and altos are different, by the way, and I can't go through all the vocal fox and how their voices registrations are different, how they resonate different. I'll have to do maybe I'll do a tutorial on vocal fox and we'll break down each vocal fox and we go through. It's going to be, I'd have to break that over 4 or 5 sessions to do that. But anyway, so the women, as they go up into their falsetto, which is in the term way back when, in the stage days in Broadway, instead of calling women's falsetto, it was called head voice. And also the beginnings of the term mixed voice started to come in, where they would mix their sound of their chest registration into their falsetto, their head voice. I thought this was an excellent way to just maintain that concept for everybody so they can understand the mechanics of how the voice works. It's a very easy concept to understand. So when I go back to talking about guys' registrations, okay, and I talk about head voice, I actually am one step, I'm falsetto or reinforced falsetto and beyond. Now let me explain this. So from chest register, and I'm not even answering your question because you're saying, how do I get it? I have to explain it first so I can tell you how to get it, okay? So within that is we go through Segunda Passaggio, we have the register break, again, where the throat buckles or collapses and spasms, and it closes down, and you have that yodel to get you into your falsetto range, which is also the the David Lee Roth screams and Bon Jovi screams we were just talking about. It's in that registration, okay? Now, why I use the term head voice is I want, especially guys, to understand that their voices can be like women. They can go through the passaggio seamlessly, Segunda Passaggio seamlessly, and get that whole range they're missing to match the tonal qualities and the brightness and the resonance and the power of their chest voice and become one long, powerful note. All the way. You see me do it all the time. I do it in all my songs. There is a very specific process on how to build that. I cover this in my singing course. I have a video on how to build head voice. But what we do is we start with that same ping. Remember, ping is king? We start with the same ping we just did in the chest voice. How do you get that ping? And like with the Bee Gees, ha 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 ha, Stella, right? The real bright tone. We start with that tone, and we start to get the falsetto, the hooty fluty falsetto sound by cutting back the air and maintaining this bright ping in the sound. And we have to go through all the vowels, folks. I'm sorry, you can't just use twang and think that that's going to do it for you, because that's one vowel structure, E-H, like lead. And if you only work that vowel structure, you don't get all the vowels, and then you train your throat to only do one thing, and it's very hard to step off of that into other vowels as a platform or a springboard. So that's why I tell you all vowel sounds stem from, it's the la, ah, because ah is the biggest vowel that we have, and once you master the ah vowel, you can master all the other vowels. So you can start with a big vowel to master the small vowels, but you can't start with a small vowel to master a big vowel. So in answer to your question, Mars Studio 7, you have to start with that bright ping quietly. Do it quiet. Again, don't overbloat the folds themselves so that they don't, collapse from the weight of too much air or being blown out from too much air. Start really quiet. Now you can start on a small vowel, by the way. I didn't say don't go straight to the ah. Let me back up something. I don't want you guys to get confused about something. You can start with a small vowel. An E is recommended because it is a small vowel. It's easier to understand. But once you get that, then start to go back to la, ah, and work your way ah, e, o, and oo. Go back through those vowel structures and grow the brightness and the timbre of those vowels as well. Kamikaze, yes. And they're that one younger guy that claims to be a vocal coach that, in my opinion, can't sing and hasn't proved that he can teach. We already covered this. Sorry, Kamikaze. I already talked about that guy. If that's cool, I'm going to move on. Deborah Walcott, Grappy. How do you practice vocals when you're in isolation with your whole family and everyone's interests are different? Well, you have to find a place to practice. I used to actually sing into a pillow at hotels when I needed to practice myself on tour, because I got kicked out of a lot of hotels for being too loud. That's really dangerous because you can't really hear yourself and you don't really know what you're doing, and there's also you're susceptible to over singing. But no matter what, Deborah, you gotta find a place to practice. Go into the car if you have to. Even though I don't recommend sitting down and singing because you lose up to a third of your support, I do recommend finding some isolation. You got to. It's like asking me, I want to play a sport. And I want to play soccer, but it's kind of a bummer because I have nowhere to practice. Can I get good at soccer by just standing in my living room with all my friends around or family around? No, you got to get on a field and do it. So I'd love to give you a better answer than that girl, but that's the truth. Dado86, how do I learn to sing like David Lee Roth in his prime? Well, I'm going to do a vocal coach reacts to David Lee Roth, so keep an eye out for that, and I explain some of that, and hopefully that will be helpful because I can't get to all of that here. DJ Genghis 78. Hi Ken, any video you recommend for a general practice regimen during this time? Yeah, I actually on my channel, if you're not going to get my singing course right away, I have several tutorials on that. So please look up, a daily regimen, daily practice, singing for beginners, blah blah blah. I've got quite a few on there. Just piece them together and walk through that stuff. That'll help you a lot. Okay, so I want to go through some questions I would have missed today. So let me do some questions down here. I'm going to scroll down. Let's see what we got here. We got Furry Murray, 7. Okay, Murray, let's see here. When I sing, does that mean you have hair on your chest and your back? I'm not sure where they're coming out of your nose. There's a wrap around you. Anyone that's seen that joke might appreciate that. Ken's humoring himself for the day. When I sing loudly, it's way easier for me to navigate the passaggio. But when I sing more quietly, I get the vocal break more often. Well, actually, that's usually the opposite of most people. That's usually opposite. So you're going to need to do both. The other question that I would have for you is, are you sure you're getting through the passaggio and going into your head voice, or are you stretching chest? Furry Murray, why don't you do this? Why don't you send us a sample of your singing in the forum so we can take a listen to it, so that we can hear what you're actually doing, because that's usually the polar opposite of the experience that people have when they're singing. So I need to hear a sample of that to be able to better answer that question. By RTD Yo. How can I stop using my swallowing muscles when singing? That's a really good question. Okay, depending on how much mucus you're generating or how much saliva you're generating, or if, again, there's a spasm in the back of the throat. Chances are you have a spasm issue in the back of the throat, and you're going to need to retrain the muscles to not swallow while you're singing or going through singing. So simple vowels and slider vowels, not vowels that have note value on a scale. Here's the reason for that. You can train a slider. You can train the throat to stay open without that regurgitation or spasming in the back of the throat a lot easier than because every time I go the throat's going, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? I want pitch. You want to stay open? How much? How open? Do I close the vowel down? Do I keep it open? It asks a lot of questions. So if you do a lot of these sliders, it will really help maintain training that throat mechanism to stay open for good muscle memory. Nentaja. Hey, how do you do a proper oo vowel on high notes while keeping the throat, the open throat tract, open vocal tract? Good question. As you guys know, we rarely sing a pure ooh, ooh. We sing O with ooh in it. Ooh, 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 ooh. Right? Now, it's true, the higher up we go, the more we have to close down the vowel, or it becomes too top heavy and it becomes unsustainable because it's too big. So we have to close it down to make it manageable. Well, but in the case of ooh, when you're doing it, a trick is to take a quick O, do it real slow, throw it in real quick to get to ooh. Right? So we're really singing mostly O with ooh in it, but when we're originally going to get to that first initial O, we sing ah-o real quick. So no one knows you're doing this. You are doing it, no one knows it, but you're doing a real quick vowel mod. It's like a diphthong of vowels, so to speak, to get into that oh-oo. And that will help you practice that and build good muscle memory in the vocal tract. Warren, Pelacanalis. It's possible to add distortion to a head dominant mixed belt. You need to decompress for the mix, but you need to compress for the distortion. No, actually, you should be able to manage the breath all the time and really make sure that you're not using too much air, particularly when you're distorting a sound in your mixed voice. Otherwise, you are actually going to really shred your mid voice between the passaggio, segundo passaggio. So I recommend starting it really, really quietly with a really bright tone, working up a clean sound first, and then little by little start adding different degrees or percentages of that tone and that distortion in the mixed voice. Officer Shot at Ken Tamplin. Yikes. Not a great name for today. Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy. I have been singing in a school choir, but I had to stop. Voice change. Is there any way I can get back on it? Yes, absolutely there is. In fact, I cover this in my singing course as well. Michael Jackson didn't need to lose all the range that he lost had he been able to hang on to and work through the transition process through puberty, pubescence. So, so you really want to go back and start to stretch that chest voice really lightly and gently, lightly as in less volume, not air, and then start to work through that passaggio to get back that registration that you lost. Remember, though, your folds are growing, like other parts of your body are growing. All right, TMI Ken. But no, seriously, your folds are growing, and so you've got to get both where they were when they were smaller, and as they're getting larger and larger and larger and bigger, as you're going through puberty or gone through puberty and maturity, that's why you want to continue to stretch those folds and get those guys back to where they used to be. I cover that in my singing course. Let's see here. Next one, Josiah Contreras. Ken, is there a way to correct a breathy tone? I have the problem of letting too much air in when I sing, even when I speak. Yes. This is one time I would recommend Fry to you. Become Marilyn Manson for a minute. I'm part of the dope show, So I'm gonna talk like this. I'm gonna cut back all my air. And now I don't want to hear that rattly sound. So now I'm gonna work on getting rid of that rattly sound, but maintaining the same amount of compressing the air. So I start here. And then work on singing or speaking with really bright tones, and you will get good chord closure. It will come to you over time. It may be a little more difficult than for some other people, but success will come. Paolo Mia, hi, from Guatemala, Ken. I have a question, of course. Haha. Could you recommend me some good vocal exercises for a very low range? I can't find any, and my keyboard is not working anymore. Yeah, well, this has to do with how we manipulate laryngeal positions. So one thing you can do, and it's not the only thing, but it's a thing you can do, is start to train your larynx to go, oh, oh, oh. Start in the ah vowel and try to drop to a hyper lowered laryngeal position. Now we really want to get to the point where we can relax. Now, by the way, I always train a lower laryngeal position no matter what in a belting registration, and here's why. 90% of the people out there, the higher up they go, they psychologically think, oh, everything has to go up. I have to look up, I have to think of the notes being high, my larynx raises, the digastric muscle beneath my chin starts to come down and it starts to stricture in the throat. So there's this psychological thing that happens when we do this. So I train people first to start in a lowered laryngeal position. So when they get really good at it, they can relax to a neutral position and can use a raised laryngeal position for effect. An example of this. So when Paul Rogers from Bad Company or Tempted by the Fruit, Paul Carrick from Squeeze, baby, I want to think about you, right? I'm singing with a raised laryngeal position. Like we see Rihanna, we see Lady Gaga, we see all kinds of people using this for effect, right? But this effect usually happens predominantly as a result of people when they go up to sing, the larynx raises on them and they get caught. And then they can't go any higher. And it completely strictures range, right? It just eclipses range. So I teach a lowered position. Why are you saying this? Can I ask you about a low voice? I know I'm getting to that. Give me a second. So the same is true, though, in a good way when we think about singing low notes. Watch my throat. Did you see my larynx drop all the way down into my Adam's, or down into my trachea? Do you see how low it went? Okay, so what you do is you train the larynx and your Adam's apple, the larynx, to drop all the way down into a lowered position. Then when you get really good, right? I can do that now instead of dropping the larynx down, I can raise the larynx a little bit to get tone. Right, so and choking off down at the trachea, I can actually get tone and I can train the larynx to do what I want for me, and this will help you. By the way, I have a couple of small tutorials. I'm singing, what am I singing? Oh, I'm singing Lowrider. Check out my video Lowrider, because I'm singing really low, and you can check out what I'm talking about very specifically because I use this technique. And then I also do Ring of Fire by Johnny Cash. I'll put both of those in the description for you to check out. Jeff Brush, hey Ken, did you research all the knowledge you have yourself? Do you have a lot of schooling, some mentors? Yes, Jeff, I have spent around $1 million, maybe more, on my voice from the world's greatest vocal coaches. Yes, I went to school. School didn't help me very much, and I'd love to tell you the names, very big schools that were not very helpful for me because I disagreed with a lot of the sort of Indian caste system that they put you in. Let me explain that real quick. You and my Far Eastern Indian friends out there know what I'm talking about. Once, born a pauper, always a pauper. Born a king, always a king, and everything in between, right? That's called the Indian caste system. So no matter how many times you come back to life, you're always going to be relegated to being that guy. That's true for classical training. So that's what's called the vocal Fox system. It's the German way of describing the different vocal types. Okay, so what you quickly learn is that you're told that you're a tenor, you're a bari, you're a contralto, and alto. Your tessitura is this, which is the sweet spot of your range. You're, I can go on and you're a coloratura, you're a dramatic, you're a this, you're that. All these different labels that people get put on. Well, the reason that system was categorized like that wasn't early on, I should say, wasn't for to sentence people that is all they'll ever be as a singer. The reason that system was put together was so when they were putting together arias and different, amazing performances, plays of casting different singers, they could easily plug in a singer of a role that they're playing. If it was a big, the big hero role, then boom, you get a bari, a big belting bari, right? And you bring that guy in, and he's going to be, the guy that saves the day role, right? If you have a real small lyric, soprano singer, and you want a real sensitive singer, she's praying to God or something, whatever she's going to sing this line, then you could plug them into that role. So what happened was then they started really pushing and making people stick to their categories, so to speak, right? Their styles, their vocal fox. It was a very dangerous thing to have happen throughout all of classical music. I found out that was patently false and that we could sing in all kinds of different registrations with all kinds of different vocal fox. And I prove it every time I go do a vocal demonstration or one of my students do a demonstration. And 1 minute, my girl Katie is doing, Sarah McLachlan, and the next minute she's singing AC/DC. Well, McLachlan is more on the lyric tenor side, and AC/DC should belter screamer guy, right? So, and then also that's true for vocal ranges. So within the range themselves, I was told your highest note will never be more than an F sharp 2, or excuse me, F sharp 4, G4, and I sing well above an octave. In fact, when I did Child in Time, I sing a C6. So yes, I've had a gob of training. I continue to rehearse every day. I've studied with Leone Maggieri, Pavarotti's vocal coach, of 53 years. I've studied with a ton of different people over the years, and I've gotten nuggets from this, nugget from that, bad from this, bad from that, and took a lifetime of taking all this information and literally taking it on the road, going into the studio, practicing it at home, in studios, whatever, in rehearsal rooms, in the car, you name it, and would just beat the crap out of this information to see what really worked and what didn't. And that is what comprises Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy, is every bit of information I felt that I could find that was worth anything, and then putting it all together, the pieces of very hard to come by information, most of it conflicting, two great vocal coaches saying the exact opposite thing. Who do you believe? They're both great vocal coaches, and they both claim to have taught all these great people. How do you know what to believe? You believe what works and what you put into practice to see what works. And you can't just try one thing one time and go, that didn't work. You gotta go, well, God, there's so many people doing this. What am I missing? So you don't just throw the baby out with the bathwater. You got to give it some gestation period and maturation period over time. Had I not done that, I would have never fully understood how I teach going through the segundo passaggio to get that one long, powerful note if I didn't work on it for about 1.5 years to get it to where it made sense to me, and then I was able to do it with my own voice and then teach it to others. So good question, Jeff. Hopefully that was helpful. We're coming in, man, I feel like I've still got a lot of questions. I'll do another one of these, guys, for you. So hang in there, guys. I promise I'll get to as many of these. Keep the questions coming. Don't stop. We'll go through them. I'll do what I did where I put them, on a sheet of paper here, and we'll go through a lot. So how can you teach, how can you stretch your voice to reach those incredibly high notes? Well, I just discussed that, and I have a whole tutorial on belting. I obviously cover this extensively in my course, but check out my video on belting. It has to do with how you carefully stretch chest voice, how you carefully grow head voice, and then how you bring head voice down into chest and chest up into head through mixed voice to get this one long powerful note through the segundo passaggio. But I cover that in several videos that I have, and I'll post as many of them as I can. And I'll try to revisit that question so it's a little more extensive. So ask it again and say, Ken, you promised you'd give me a more comprehensive explanation of that. Okay, Ankur Kobanoglu. What is decent solution for singers with TMJ? Man, that's another big question. Owner, if you could do me a favor and save that question for next time, because there's massages, there's all kinds of things you can do, and there's reasons why people have TMJ. Sometimes it's tension. Sometimes it could be a neck or a muscle issue. Sometimes it's the way you're approaching vowels or leaving the mantle of the jaw open too much, and it spasms, and because it's open so much that you start to build tension in the jaw itself. Well, I'll try to do one on TMJ, or at least answer that again more comprehensively also. MSJ Music, how to improve a baritone voice. I just talked about that, so we'll get to that maybe in another time. How do you get rid of phlegm just after a nap? Look at my video on mucus on the cords, and it will really help you with that. And then starting out with a real bright vocal tone and working yourself, taking extra time to warm up is key for that. And it depends on if you have post-nasal drip and it keeps coming back and dripping on the cords. I cover that a lot in that, and I cover that in my course. Zuzlina Uzlina, there's a name. It sounds like a song. Zuzlina Uzlina, I don't even know. Zuzlina Uzlina Manakovahi. Whew, it's a mouthful. That should be a vocal exercise in and of itself. Ken, I bought your course 1 year ago and it is great, thanks. But please tell us about your diet for singing. Once you mentioned that you had acid reflux or some surgery. Thank you. Diet is tough for me. Yes, I cover this I have a video out, Zuzlina. I don't know if you've seen it or not. I'll put that in the description also. Diet for singers. And I'm going to do another one soon. So Zuzlina, I'll tell you what, I'll try to even dedicate it to you. I'm going to do a brand new video on diet for singers, because there's some really great new information that's come out. It's going to literally take me a solid hour to go through all that information. Hey guys, I'm going to cut it short here because we're already over time, but I want to remind you of a couple things. I'll save the rest of these that didn't get answered. Don't forget, you guys, thank you to my notification squad. You guys are rock stars. I'm going to be back this coming Saturday with 12 game-changing tips for great singing. So stay with it, because some of these questions probably that didn't get answered might be answered in that. So stay tuned for that. If you have other questions you want me to answer, please continue to post them here. I promise I'll do my best to get to them. And all you guys are seriously, you rock. I love you dearly, and I look forward to seeing you on Saturday. God bless. Peace out.